Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. This is our week 3, um, our first live meeting for week 3. Let me share my screen. Things are a little different, so it's taking me a minute to figure it out. Okay. So let me. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, you
Okay.
can.
All right. So this is our Blackboard course. I'm just going to go straight into week 3, our assignment list. I'm going to go over the assignment list and then I'm going to show you each of the different parts for our assignment. So the first thing I want you to do is watch the video, Will She Make It? Basically, surprise, it's my story, and I explain all the ins and outs and details. But Christy is my story, different locations and different names, because I didn't want you to know that it was my story in the beginning. Then we're going to look at our first major essay proposal. Proposal is just a fancy way of saying instructions. We're going to go over the pre-writing and the outline, which are due this week. Then I want you to look at or actively read Paul in your book, and you'll be submitting your active reading pages to me. Now, I will say this. I did get through this morning, I graded the um, Will She Make It reader responses. And I commented, so you know why you got the grade that you received. So make sure you read those comments. A lot of it was some of you were just giving me a summary of the story instead of telling me, I think Christy is not going to make it in life. She's not going to be successful because, and then give me parts of the text to explain why you think or why you drew that opinion or drew that conclusion. So make sure you read those comments so that next time, because we have another reader response due this week, it'll be different. And from here on out, all of our reader responses will look like the one that we're going to complete today. But make sure you read those comments so that you know how to fix it for next time. The same goes for your active reading. I'm going to grade those next, but make sure you read those comments so that um, you can see. Hold on, I'm trying to. Mhm. Okay. That way you can see what's going wrong and why you aren't getting the grade that you want to get. Okay. So make sure you're staying on top of that. This week we're going to be reading Paul, and then you'll have a reader response due for Paul. Part of that reader response is having specific things that I look for. The first paragraph is well, we'll go into that in a minute. Let's not worry about that. This week we are starting with the Khan Academy unit. It's already been set up for you. It was set up last night. You must complete Khan Academy within the time that I assign it. That's not a Miss Newper thing. That's a Khan Academy thing. If you complete something before I assign it, I can't see it. So make sure that you're completing those Khan Academy assignments after I've assigned them and before the due date. If you wait until after the due date and time, which is Friday at noon, I can't see your work. So just make sure that you don't start it early and that you finish it on time if you want credit. Okay, so let's get out of our list and start looking at some of our assignments. There's that video I want you to watch. And then this is our essay proposal. Our essay proposal, if we click on this, we can see what's going on. Basically, it's telling you that now you're going to give me your life story, right? Although I hesitate saying life story. You're going to give me a personal narrative about some moments in your life. It's only 500 words to 750 words, which is like 2 to 3 pages. So you don't want to tell me your whole life story because that would be a book, right? You're going to pick specific pieces that you're going to tell me that help change you and mold you into the person you are today. Kind of like my story. You didn't get all of my story, you just got a little snippet of it, right? That helped me develop into the person I am today. So make sure you read through all of these instructions. A big part of an online course is reading through the instructions carefully and following those instructions carefully. So read through. Most importantly, you will receive a 0 if. Read through all of these different situations that will result in a 0 for you on this assignment. These assignments start that big bulk of our grade, which is the writing portfolio, since this is their first major essay. So make sure you're reading through what may lead or what will lead to a 0 for this assignment. Okay, next, we're going to look at the pre-writing. So I give you an example of the pre-writing. Let me move this guy. All right. So notice I gave you a ton of memories. Your pre-writing is basically just listing out a big slew of memories. This only takes like 5 or 10 minutes. I know it seems like it's going to take forever, but it doesn't. You are literally just going to list all the memories you can from your childhood. Okay. Well, through adulthood, and adulthood is up to yesterday, right? So you're going to list as many memories as you can. There is a minimum. I can't remember if it's 30 or 40. We'll go over that in a minute. Once you've listed those memories, then you're going to go through and write C, T, or A. C stands for childhood, T stands for teens, A stands for adulthood. So you're going to tell me when that memory took place. Now you'll notice that some of my memories, I put CTA because it's a lifelong thing. It happened through all of my life. So I always felt that I could accomplish anything. And that's been childhood, teens, adulthood. That was all my life. So I put CTA, right? If it's something that just happened in childhood and teen years, you're just going to put CT like I did right here. Or if it's teen and adult, you'll put T and A, right? So once you've done that, then you're going to come up with 4 to 6 memories that you want to write about. These are memories that changed you or helped develop who you are as a person, right? And you're going to highlight those 4 to 6 memories. Now, if you're worried that you are not going to meet that 500 word minimum, I would pick 5 or 6 memories. If you're worried you're going to stay below that 750 word maximum, I would only pick 4 memories, right? I will say this is the one assignment that students overall every time really struggle to stay under that 750 word limit. Because once you start talking about yourself, you're like, oh man, I have so much to tell you, right? And so you hit that word limit really quickly. So make sure I would stick to 4 memories. But if you know I really struggle with getting enough words in, go ahead and pick 5 or 6. But I really encourage you to stick to 4. Once you've picked those 4 or 5 or 6 memories, you're going to number them in chronological order. Number 1 being the one that happened at your youngest, right? I was 5 when this happened. Number 2, I was 8 when this happened. Number 3, I was 12 when this happened, right? So you're going to go in chronological order, 1 being your earliest memory or when you were the youngest, and then 4, 5, or 6 being the most recent memory. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, good. Let's look at the outline. And then right here, when you're ready, you're going to submit your pre-writing here. When you're ready. And these are just detailed instructions for that pre-writing. Okay, then our outline. Here's our outline example. Because you're an online course, I'm never going to give you something that an assignment that I don't give you some sort of an example for, especially when it means this much to your grade, since this is our first major essay. Come on, prepare that document, fella. There it is. So this is what your outline looks like. You're going to pull it. It's a Word document. You're going to pull it up in Word, and you're going to fill it out based on those memories that you've already completed and come up with from the pre-writing, right? So pre-writing first, now outline. This first paragraph, each one of these Roman numerals counts as a different paragraph, right? So some of you are going to have 6 paragraphs because you're going to have an intro, 4, an an intro plus 4 memories, and then your conclusion. Some of you are going to have 7, some of you are going to have 8, depends on how many memories that you choose to use. So this first part, you're going to introduce yourself, tell me where you were born, where did you grow up? Sometimes a lot of the times that's different from where you were born. And then who did your family consist of? So while you were being raised, right, when you were a kid, what did that look like at home? And maybe that changed. Maybe when I was a teen, I had to go live with my aunt or my uncle or foster care, whatever that looked like for you. Just make sure that you're going to fill out this first part. Notice that my answers are in a different color. So I'm old, you guys. When you put all black, it all runs together for me. And I have so many of these pre-writing and outlines to go over. It's got to be in a different color. I will take heavy points off if it's all in black because it's really difficult for me to go over. So just choose a color that looks different, that's easy to spot. Okay, paragraph 2 is going to be your first earliest memory, the memory that you put as number 1 on your pre-writing. You're going to tell me the background story. So in other words, tell me what I need to know to understand that memory, right? So for me, I put my childhood in LA. You need to know the background story is I didn't have a dad. I grew up with my mom and my grandmother. And then there was my older brother who was involved. You're going to list everybody who was in that situation, what happened. And then just like I told you in my story, I gave you all the ins and outs of what my childhood looked like growing up in LA, right? Or you guys know it as Detroit. And then you're going to tell me, why was this memory significant? So in other words, if you tell me when I was 10, I lost my dog, Leroy, and why was that significant? Well, because I lost my dog. That's not significant. We all have pets that we lose. That's not significant. But maybe you were bullied when you were 4, so your dad got you this puppy who was like an emotional support animal for you, and you guys grew up together. So when you lost your dog at 10, it was like you lost your first friend, and that was really traumatic. Does that make sense? So that background information is, I got this dog because I was being bullied and my dad wanted me to have some support. That's that background information I need to understand as to why having a dog and your dog dying means something bigger than it should, right? And this, how did it change me? Well, I lost my first friend at 10. I had to learn the grieving process at 10. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you're going to continue to do that with all of the memories that you choose to use. As we go down, you're going to give me that background information, who was in it, give me the situation, and then tell me the significance of that memory. Now, if you only choose 4 memories, paragraph 6 and 7, they won't be completed. I only chose 5 memories. So I filled out this 6th paragraph, which is my 5th memory, but not that 6th one because I didn't have a 6th one, right? So your outlines are going to look a little different from each other, and they aren't going to be all complete because you may not have as many memories as some of your peers. And then finally, you are going to complete this concluding paragraph, just telling me where you are now, how you got to that place, how you're feeling now, where you are right now. Okay. Then you're just going to save this Word document and you're going to submit it like you did that pre-writing. Any questions on the outline? Okay, good. All right. And should questions come up, I'm only an email away, right? So make sure you don't email me, don't message me through Blackboard. I don't check those messages. Make sure you're emailing me at my SPC email, which is rnewfer@southplainscollege.edu. Okay, this is a video teaching you how to save a Word document if you've never done that before. So that is there if you need it. And this is where you're going to submit that outline just like you did for your pre-writing. It's the same concept. It's an assignment in Blackboard. Here's your active reading for Paul. Here's where you're going to submit those pages for your active reading. Now let's look really quickly at this reader response for Paul. If we click on this journal entry, it's a journal entry just like your reader response for My Story or Will She Make It? But now it's going to be the exact same every time. This first paragraph is going to be a summary. You're going to retell the story in your words. I've read these stories 157 billion times, right? So I even know the phrases and the text of the book, And if you're using their phrases and their wording, that's plagiarism. So make sure you're retelling the story in your own words. Okay. This needs to be 10 sentences minimum. Now, minimum is a C, right? So the more sentences you put in there, the more you're going to get a better grade for this summary. What I tell students is, I don't have a book with me. You go to that first page, the first full page. What after you've actively read it, what draws your attention from that first full page? Put those into a couple of sentences, those text pieces that draw your attention. Go to the next page, do the same thing. What's important on this page? Give me 2 or 3 sentences from that page. Go to the next page. Then you won't miss any important details. And it'll all be in your own words. You're not going to take words from the book. It needs to be your words only. Another thing I don't want in paragraph 1 is your opinion, because that's paragraph 2. So I don't want to see Paul was a really great story or a really great read. Don't tell me that. That's a second paragraph thing. Okay. First paragraph is summary only. Then we're going to get to paragraph 2, and you're going to start telling me what your opinions are. Did you like the story or did you not? You're never going to get a bad grade if you didn't like a story. That's okay. We don't all love the same story, but you need to tell me why you liked or did not like the story. Don't just say, I didn't like it. It's boring. Tell me why. Use that text evidence and tell me why you liked it or didn't like it. I also want to know how you relate to the person. So it can't be superficial. Too many students were emailing me about Maria and saying, I don't relate to Maria because I'm not in a wheelchair. What? That's so superficial, right? Tell me how you relate to them on a stronger level. So I relate to Maria because I also was bullied in elementary school, or I relate to Maria because I persevere through my health crisis, or whatever your story is for you. Tell me how you relate to the person. We are all humans. We all can relate to one another on some level. Make sure you're telling me how you relate. There's a reason behind me asking you why you relate, and we'll get into that on another day. But make sure you tell me how you relate. And then the final thing for the second paragraph is you're going to give me a quote from the book that supports one of your thoughts or feelings about the book. Okay. Now, I did give you an example right down here. I gave you an example of the 3 little pigs because I figured all of us know that story. It's all summary for that first paragraph, and that second paragraph is all my thoughts and opinions. And there's also a quote in there. We use the ICE method in my course. ICE means introduce the quote. You can't just throw a quote into the second paragraph. You got to introduce it. Like when Maria says, and then put the quote in there, I relate to this because, and then finish the sentence, right? So you got to introduce that quote. C means cite, which means you're going to tell me what page you got that quote from in the book. And you can see that right here. I kind of just made up that it was on page 2. And you're going to put that page only in parentheses. And then you're going to explain. You're going to explain to me why this quote fits your opinion well, right? So ICE, introduce, cite, explain. And you've got to do that for the second paragraph, for your opinion paragraph. It's one of the things I'm looking for. So if we click out of here, you'll see here's that ICE method citation that explains what I just said in more detail. And it also gives you some examples. There's also some reader response examples. These are bad reader responses, right? I gave you a good one in the actual reader response journal page. This is a bad example so that you kind of know what I'm not looking for, right? And then for Khan Academy, it's the nouns unit. So you can click in that app or click in that folder and find the link to the nouns this week. Are there any questions about the assignments this week? Okay. All right. Well, yes.
I do. So
yes.
I was reading through our syllabus, and I noticed that there's a personal narrative essay peer reviews, and that's like later on. Can you explain to me what that is?
A peer review just means 2 or 3 of your, I think it's 2 for the online class. Two
Okay.
other students in your course are going to read through your essay and give you critiques like grammar critiques and sentence structure
Okay.
critiques for your essay.
Okay. So, with that being said, do you want us to use like real names for this essay that we're about to do?
Yeah, because I don't know that no one knows your people, right? We only know
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, you can use, I mean, frankly, I wouldn't know if you used aliases. I mean, I wouldn't know. I should see
Yeah.
your name, right? But
Right.
it's what you're comfortable with.
Okay.
But I'm very strong and adamant about what happens in Miss Newford's classroom, even though it's online, stays in Miss Newford's classroom. We all get punched in the face by life. We kind of learned that in our introduction to the book, right?
Right.
And so if we are spilling the tea for our peers and what's going on in their life, that's not okay and disrespectful. And I will give zeros for that kind of, if I hear anything about that kind of disrespect.
Okay.
So it's basically just two other students are going to read through your essay and give you critiques on the actual essay itself, not on what happened in your life. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, but that comes in a
Yes.
couple weeks.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, guys, I'm going to stop recording. I got to remember how to stop recording. I don't remember here. Hold on. I think I have to stop share first. Yeah.